Welcome to today's brand origin deep dive. You've heard of the product, a splash of defiance in a world of beige boxes. But do you know how a forgotten corporate archive and a desperate color gamble reshaped its global image forever? This isn't just about a computer. It's about a company pushed to the brink, finding salvation in unexpected hues. It's a story buried under decades of history, waiting to be uncovered. Box by Dusty Box. If you find value in this kind of storytelling, uncovering the hidden narratives behind everyday icons, consider liking the video and subscribing. It helps more than you know. And let us know in the comments where you're watching from or what this brand means to you. Let's dive in and discover how it all began. You step across the threshold, the air thick with the scent of aged paper and dormant electronics. This is the unseen archive, a silent mausoleum of corporate memory, tucked away in the bowels of a sprawling campus. Aisles stretch endlessly, lined with shrink-wrapped boxes, each holding echoes of past projects, successes, and, perhaps more importantly, failures. The weight of this forgotten technology presses in, a tangible silence humming with the ghosts of innovation and obsolescence. Your objective is singular: to pierce this veil of decay and uncover the radical shift that saved a global giant from the precipice. You navigate deeper, drawn by a faint sense of purpose, until you reach a corner distinctly different. Boxes holding prototypes from a near-failure era, a time when the brand's existence hung precariously in the balance. This period represents a major historical milestone, a brush with corporate mortality that forced drastic measures. Tucked away in one box, you discover a faded, handwritten memo, its words hinting at a desperate, last-ditch gamble. Beside it lies a discarded color swatch, a vibrant, translucent blue unlike anything the brand had ever released, or so it seemed at the time. This quirky, lesser-known detail feels significant, a physical clue in the mystery. Brand historians still debate whether this specific memo documented the moment of true design rebellion or merely a side thought in a chaotic turnaround effort. But here, in the silence, it plants the first seed of the color as salvation motif, sparking a mounting curiosity about the creative desperation that fueled this hidden chapter. As we move past the initial spark, you enter a much darker, quieter phase of the brand's journey. This is the immediate pre-iMac era, a time brand historians still debate whether it was a necessary low point or a near-fatal misstep. You find yourself surrounded by gray ghosts of the failed future. The products are starkly different now, not revolutionary tools, but bland, uniform gray boxes that feel utterly devoid of personality. They reflect a company deep in an identity crisis. Through hushed internal accounts and even fragments of discarded packaging revealing abandoned, vibrant design concepts, you uncover the sheer internal disarray. Conflicting visions clashed behind closed doors, and hope dwindled with each uninspired product release. There was a palpable resistance to change, an almost deliberate clinging to the past, the ghost in the machine conflict. You can almost hear the echoes of frustrated designers whose truly radical ideas were repeatedly shelved in favor of safe, forgettable conformity. The symbolic motif of color, which will become so vital later, is conspicuous only in its absence, a monochromatic landscape mirroring the company's lack of direction and creative spirit. This section is thick with despair and stagnation, a period of near failure that underscores just how much explosive creative energy would be required to break free, building on the stark reality of the previous phase, where corporate survival hung by a thread. The narrative takes a sudden, clandestine turn. Behind closed doors, far from the cautious eyes of traditionalists, a radical concept begins to ferment. You witness the whispers in dimly lit conference rooms and catch glimpses of sketches slipped discreetly under office doors. The origins of the project that would challenge everything. This is where the heretical hues emerge. The core ideas are shockingly simple. A computer focused solely on the internet, stripped of unnecessary complexity. But the true heresy? Color. And not just color, but a playful, translucent plastic shell that dared to be seen. Key figures, framed mysteriously through blurred prototypes and recorded fragments of impassioned arguments, champion this vision. You can almost feel the smooth, slightly warm texture of early plastic samples, the echo of debates filling the air, voices clashing between the bold visionaries pushing for a radical identity and the entrenched corporate caution clinging to beige security. This internal struggle becomes the crucible where color as salvation gains urgent momentum. Brand historians still debate whether the intensity of this aesthetic focus was a calculated strategy or a desperate act of defiance. A lesser-known detail? One early prototype proposed a flesh tone option, quickly rejected, but revealing the breadth of experimentation. This section vibrates with the emotional shift towards risk, creative tension, and the fight for a future defined by radical difference. Building on the urgent need for a radical visual identity, you step into a world of intense aesthetic obsession. This is where the iMac G3's iconic colors and materials are born, a palette of panic and possibility. You witness designers poring over plastic swatches, feeling the smooth, translucent curves of prototype shells. Memos detail heated debates. Is tangerine too bold? Is strawberry too whimsical? The specific hue of Bondi blue, inspired by the Australian coast, becomes a central battleground. This wasn't just about aesthetics. It was material science meeting emotional intent, trying to imbue a machine with personality. Color wasn't just paint. It was the statement, turning the abstract idea of color as salvation into tangible plastic. You glimpse a heavily redacted focus group report stating flatly, "Why would anyone buy a blue computer?" The pressure is immense, a mix of fear and thrilling, guarded optimism. Analysts still question the sheer audacity of betting the company's future on translucent, brightly colored plastic in an industry dominated by beige boxes. It felt like a gamble, but one they believed could finally make technology inviting. Building on what came before, the moment arrives. You feel the nervous energy palpable through leaked reports and industry whispers. Then, the world gets its first real look. This is the public unveiling of the iMac G3, a major historical turning point that defied convention. The initial press releases are measured, but soon the reviews roll in, often dripping with skepticism. Pundits scoff at the Bondi blue and bright colors, deriding the machine as a toy. A particular point of contention, almost seen as a quirky act of rebellion, was the complete removal of legacy ports, forcing users abruptly into the USB era. It felt like a digital equivalent of banning VHS tapes when Blockbuster was still huge. This stark departure fuels intense debate. Brand historians still debate whether the aggressive port strategy was brilliant foresight or needlessly alienating arrogance. Yet, almost instantly, a surprising public fascination takes hold. Driven by curiosity and the striking visuals, people are drawn to the vibrant, translucent shells appearing in homes and offices like technological jellyfish emerging from the deep sea. The translucent design, initially an internal symbol of hope, becomes an external cultural force. The color as salvation transforms from a risky gamble into a visible, tangible success story, triggering cultural shockwaves as these machines redefine what a computer could look like. The emotional tide within the company shifts from vulnerability to a surge of unexpected success. But it also brings a new reality. This radical act has permanently altered Apple's path and set dizzying new expectations. The challenge ahead: how do you follow up a computer that looks like candy, a machine that just changed everything you thought you knew about personal tech? Echoes in the spectrum. This is where the vibrant story begins to settle, reflecting on the long-term echoes of those bold, colorful steps. The iMac G3 wasn't just a computer, it was a manifesto, a defiant splash of personality in a sea of beige conformity. Its impact is still felt today, a major turning point that pulled Apple back from the brink and fundamentally redefined its identity. You see the legacy not just in technology, but in the wider world of industrial design. Appliances, furniture, even cars started adopting richer palettes and translucent finishes, proving that practicality didn't have to sacrifice joy. Analysts continue to question the exact weighting, but brand historians still debate whether the success was purely a brilliant aesthetic play, a clever marketing pivot born from desperation, or if the infusion of color and friendly form unlocked something deeper in the cultural psyche, a yearning for technology that felt less like a tool and more like a companion. Remember that quirky detail about the internal arguments over using color at all? That vulnerability, that risk taken, feels starkly different from the polished, almost monolithic uniformity that would characterize later Apple eras. There's a tension here, isn't there, between the playful, accessible past defined by translucence and candy hues, and the sleek, metallic, often monochromatic future the brand embraced. You see cyclical trends bring back pops of color and elements of transparency in other tech, like gaming consoles or accessories. But Apple itself seems to have moved on, refining instead of revolutionizing its material palette. Was the color as salvation a temporary phase, a specific answer to a specific crisis, or did it reveal a core truth about consumer connection that the brand later chose to leave behind? The spirit of that moment, vulnerable, optimistic, undeniably fun, feels like a haunting question lingering beneath the seamless surfaces of today's devices. Is it preserved in the meticulous engineering, or is something vital lost in translation? And maybe, just maybe, the soul of a brand is never in its product, but in the people, stories, and stumbles that shape it. As we look back at the journey of the iMac G3 and the seismic shift it represented, the key takeaway might be the sheer audacity of using something as simple as color to rebuild an empire. It's a powerful lesson in finding salvation in unexpected places, in trusting instinct when data says otherwise, and in the enduring cultural symbolism of technology that dares to be different. This era taught us that computers could be more than just machines. They could be objects of desire, personality statements, even agents of change. The lessons learned from bringing vibrancy back to the desktop continue to resonate, reminding us that innovation isn't just about processing power, but about human connection, emotion, and the simple, profound impact of daring to be seen. The mystery of whether that original, courageous spirit lives on remains a quiet question in the background hum of the modern world.